Hey, use that Juggalo the Don's waiting on? What didn't come on true? He's been waiting, and he ain't a patient man. In Boca Lupo, you bastard.
Is that MisaMisa VR?
What's up, Juggalos? It's me. It's your boy, MisaMisa, with a fresh or stale, maybe a review actually. Probably a review with how long this might go. It's not going to be very long, though, don't worry. It's going to be 15 minutes, maybe? Let's say 15 minutes. I hope you liked my really cheesy, crummy intro. I can do better than that, but I don't want to. I am an Italiano. I can do a better Italiano accent, but I'm a very California boy as well. So I barely tried. No, I'm not. I'm lying. I tried. I tried my best. Anyway, we're gonna be talking about moving this fan out of my fucking face, since it ruined that intro just now already. We're gonna be talking about. Let's pull up the notes. A book. Yeah, you heard me. I know all you Zoomers out there don't know what those are. It's a text. It's pieces of paper binded together with words on them. And instead of reading it on your iPad or your fucking Kindle, I don't even think Zoomers know what a Kindle is anymore. I think it's just all boomers using those. It's a book. You know what a book is. I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's pointless to make that joke. Well, not really. I bet you there are some Zoomers who really don't understand what books are too deeply. Anyway, it's a non-fiction book. It's supposed to give you information. It's called, what's it called? American Mafia: A History of Its Rise to Power. I'm assuming it is referring to the Mafia. Now, this is written by one Thomas Repetto, I think his name is. I should have remembered. I did. I knew what I was going to say. You know, I took notes and everything. Well, while I look for his name, I started reading this while I was waiting during. I've been playing Battlefield again, 2042. It's bad. It's still a bad game, but it's a lot more fun now. It's a lot better. So during the loads though, because it loads for fucking ever, I've been reading this. So yeah, I don't know. I can't find it. I'm pretty sure his name is Thomas Repetto. Thomas Repetto. There it is. It's in my notes and everything. Thomas Repetto. Never heard of this guy. He apparently has written another book about the NYPD. But this is about the American Mafia. Personally, I have a very long history with the mob. Let's say no personal connections in real life. Let's say I have zero experience in real life with the Mafia. Let's go with that. But as far as my interests and hobbies, the Mafia has always been one of the strongest things, one of the most consistent things in my life that I've always loved and looked into and read about and not participated in. No, I really haven't. I always wanted to. Which is ironic because I still do. I've always wanted to be a cop. I live in sort of an ironic kind of weird duality where I love the police and I also love the Mafia. I don't know, and I've loved them both since I was like fucking 4 years old. The police I loved first because of the LA riots is my first memory. And then the Mafia. I don't know what led me to them. The Godfather maybe, but around 10 years old, and I'm in my 30s now, but around 10 years old, I got really deep into the Mafia. I fell in love with everything about it, even the crime. And not just the overly romanticized Don Corleone, but like the real stuff. I was not ever a fan of them dealing drugs, but I understood that's something that they do for money. You know, it's part of the business, whatever, I guess. I'm not happy with it. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't participate in it. But aside that, the murder, the kidnapping, the bribes, whatever, man. It's the mob. It's the Mafia. It's the mob, dude. You do what you do. And I love it. And I love the violence. I love the honor. Because you can say, oh, that's romantic. Again, I've spent a good upwards of 25 years. 25 years. Because 25 years. Pretty near constantly taking in Mafia stuff, reading books, watching documentaries, watching the news when that stuff was on the news. the later stuff, because obviously I wasn't around during the real, like the big times of the mob, sadly. And a lot of fiction, a lot of nonfiction, and stuff like that. Um, I love the Mafia, and I've done a lot of research, factual and otherwise, like fiction stuff, and they are an honorable, within their own rule set and their own morality, honorable group of, I'd say, good dudes for the most part, even though they're criminals. But anyway, what I'm telling you that for is to say I do have a background with this stuff. It's not just a random, I know nothing about this and this guy knows more than me, so I shouldn't be commenting, which isn't how anything works anyway. You should always be able to comment and review stuff even if you know nothing. But I just want to set you up to know I know my shit. Is it on the top of my head right now? I haven't really looked at the Mafia stuff for a few years because of moving and this and that, and then Final Fantasy 14 and anime. Well, I've been into anime since also 8 or 9. I've been, that's why I've seen so much anime. That's another topic I know a lot about. But that one I actually have a more encyclopedic knowledge of. The Mafia, I forget a lot over time. But I mean, I was in elementary school, middle school, high school, college. They would ask me, write an essay on your hero. And I write about Lucky Luciano. He would be my hero. He would be the one I'd write about that inspires me and shows me what to be as a person. That's who I would be writing about. And the teachers loved it. The professors loved it. Everybody loved it. And it's because when you're that little, yeah, they don't like that you're idealizing some criminal, but they think it's really funny that some 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 20-year-old, but especially the younger ages, is writing about this hardened, hardcore fucking criminal who created the American Mafia. No, so saying that, you'd expect a lot of Lucky Luciano in this book. He comes up 3 times. Later on, I'm sure he comes up more, but let's be honest. I'm going to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't finish reading this because it's a bad book. It's stale. Like I said, this was originally going to be fresh as stale, so that was still in my mind to say that. But either way, it's stale. Thomas Repetto doesn't seem to really understand much of what he's trying to say. This is an older book. Not old, but I know I had this book for at least a decade, but I only just started reading it for the first time. But the biggest problem with this book isn't even his knowledge or lack of it, or the fact the thing is the opposite, actually. He does know a lot. And he has I don't know if he genuinely has ADHD or something, but he's worse than me about jumping from topic to topic. Within one paragraph, you're all over the place. The thing I realized, though, is it's not ADHD, it's not autism, it's masturbatory. This guy is jerking himself off, trying to show off to the world. You'll get a paragraph, not you will get a paragraph. Every paragraph in this book, every single paragraph, every single thought, every single sentence will jump around just saying terms and words and people's names and group names to show you, look at me. I know this thing. I know this person's name. Did you know that name? I know that name. I'm smarter than you. Hey, I know about the Mafia because I know this guy's name. Hey, I know about the history around that time because I know this detective's name. Oh, I know what was going on in this place at the time. It's just a showcase of his knowledge base the entire time of what I read of it, which was a good chunk of it. It never stops. It's just a non-stop, hey, I know this thing. Oh, by the way, also this thing. Oh, or this person I also know. And it just feels like he's showing you his Rolodex. He's saying, or nowadays, I suppose, he's showing you his phone contacts. Oh, look, I know this person. I know this person. Hey, you know The Rock? I know The Rock. And you're like, well, I hate The Rock. He's fucking annoying. Oh, well, I know John Cena. Oh, you mean Bing Chi Ling? John Cena, Bing Chi Ling. I don't care about him either. Oh, you mean what about Joe Biden? Call him up.
Election in 2024. Well, I'll either be rolling an egg or being the guy who's pushing them out. Come on.
Oh, the eggs and the roaches and the little girl on your lap. I'm hanging up on Joe. All the other people that I totally I know of. He doesn't even know any of these people. He just knows of them. He wasn't even alive when they were around. He just knows of these names, and he wants to show off that he knows these names. The problem goes further, though, because it's not like I was saying before that, because I also get off track. He knows all this information on a base level. He just knows the names, the words, the terms, the phrases, the places, slight little tidbits of information about each of them, and he peppers them all into the same sentences or paragraphs all at the same time. And then he'll jump back. It is very familiar to me, but it sounds like how I am, but it's not. It's even worse, especially from an author with a giant published book. Like, he fits his name, Repetto. He's very repetitive. Repetitive. He is repetitive. Because he'll say these things. He'll say 20 different names in one sentence. Then he'll say them again 5 sentences later because he forgot that he mentioned, hey, did you know, by the way, I know these names? Are you impressed? Are you impressed yet? Did you know? Do you know those people? You don't know those people. I know those people. Well, I don't know them, but I know their names. Do you know their names? I'm smarter than you. I'm better than you. Are you impressed yet? And that's kind of all this book is a jerkle. It's a big old jerkle. It's a circle jerk, but it's a self-masturbatory circle jerk with himself and people he's never met and never known. He just name drops people left and right so he can say, look how smart I am. Look how important I am. Look how informative and knowledgeable I am. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He just knows. Well, maybe he does. I can't tell. He'll go from. He'll be like, oh, and then, Vincenzo Allegori. Vincenzo Allegori was the top detective at the time, even though he was Irish. Did you know the Irish weren't very liked in the southern quarter of Louisiana? But in New York, as a detective, he was well liked. Even though his Italian brother, even though he's Irish, went by an Italian name. And the Italian brother knew a guy. He knew Joseph Metaphor. And Joseph Metaphor... he was a bad man, because in Sicily, 50 years prior, his grandfather knew a guy who sold olives. And Allegory doesn't like olives. I know this because I read about it in the newspaper 50 years later. Allegory doesn't like olives. And this is important because it is. Because I want you to know that I know that. I want you to know that I know trivia about these people. He tells you nothing. And most importantly to me personally, aside the ramblings and the look at me, I know this thing, you get a book that immediately and throughout, consistently and constantly, tells you the American Mafia is not real. He's a schizo. That's why he can't fucking write. That's my opinion. For the record, I'm not trying to say anything legally held against me possible in the future. I'm just saying the guy seems to me to be a schizophrenic because he thinks the Mafia isn't real. Because he says so. Because he wants to feel intellectual. It goes back to feeling smart for himself again. Why does he say the Mafia doesn't exist? Oh, because America was bad. And so the Italians just happen to be bad too. As Italian as I am, and as much as I'd like to go on and on about how it's not our fault, one, I love the Mafia. I'd never give excuses for them. They're great. They're fantastic. And two, it's just not true. Italians, the Mafia's from Sicily. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not made up. It's not true. And it did come over. The Cosa Nostra, the Black Hand, is real. Duh. Why would you write a fucking book called American Mafia and then try to tell me the Mafia don't fucking exist? Because you want to look smart. It'd be like me writing about the Earth and saying the globe, debunking flat Earth theories, and then going on about why flat Earth is true, because it is. It wouldn't make sense. It's dishonest, and it's stupid. Why write the book anyway, then? What are you talking about? If it don't exist, what are you writing about? It's irritating. I don't like this Repetto guy. He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. The Mafia doesn't exist because I know people's names. And I know the history of... And he goes on fucking a million pages about fucking Louisiana. About New Orleans and shit. Who the fuck cares about New Orleans? He wants to claim New Orleans is where the Mafia started. Get a fucking grip, dude. Get some meds. Get some Xanax or whatever fucking they give all the kids now for their ADHD that they don't actually have, so they can drug them up so they can get them on weed, so they can make them fucking retarded little wagey goyim. Get on that, because you've got some issues, dude. You're worse than I am about jumping around, not being able to stay on track, and then denying the thing you're claiming is real by writing a book about the thing you claim is not real by claiming it's real. It's a bad book, is what I'm getting at. It's so bad, in fact. The back cover doesn't even have quotes about this book. It has quotes about the author's other book, about New York Police Department. NYPD something something, the name. I don't fucking care. By the way, this book is about $30. I could have got a Twisted shirt at the mall for $25. Now, of course, I didn't buy this book. This is from back when I lived at home, and my mom didn't mind spending money on me. Yeah, you heard me. Why would I deny it? Oh, aren't you an adult? Why would you want to buy your own things? Because if somebody's going to offer me free shit, I'm going to take the free shit. It's probably my birthday or Christmas anyway. But this quote is from, what's it from? I have it written down. It's from The New Yorker. It says, and this is a quote he chose, or the publisher at least chose, so they thought it was positive in praising him. It says that his writing is, quote unquote, crammed with diverting anecdotal material. And I could not put it better myself. This book is the exact same. It is crammed with diverting anecdotal material. What does that mean? If you don't somehow you don't know what that means. It means it's a book full of unprovable random bullshit that constantly takes away from the topic he's trying to talk about. Anecdotal. Think about anecdotal evidence. It's shit that you have no proof for, no way to verify, stories you heard, stories you're telling. It's made up. There's no way to verify it. There's no veracity to it. It's just anecdotal. And then, obviously, whoa, you're behind a window, so I look funny. And diverting, obviously, is what I just did. So if you're in second grade, there you go. You now know what diverting and anecdotal mean. Diverting is distracting, or taking away, going a different direction. You divert something. A river diverts, or a lake diverts into a river. You know, my dick diverts into your mother every now and then, but not often, because she a big old fucking fatty, and I ain't into that. And I ain't no Pierce Bronson. I ain't no architect. The point is, even the praise for this guy, this author, and what he thinks is praise, rather, outright says he's a fucking idiot and he can't write. That he just jumps around with ADHD like he's on fucking every med, but then also high as fuck and drunk and can't shut up. And he just jumps around with unproven, unprovable bullshit that he's made up, but he can't even focus on his stories or the stories he's been told. Because he just starts going on about some other name he wants to drop to make sure you know he's smart. It's a really... I'm disappointed. I love reading this kind of shit, and it's just bad. Not this kind of shit, not this style of shit. Mafia stuff. I love reading Mafia, especially nonfiction, like learning about the real deal. It's just bad. This is genuinely one of the worst pieces of nonfiction I've ever read in general, but especially... maybe the worst nonfiction about the Mafia I've ever touched in my entire 25 years of history with it. And yeah, it's stale, it's bad, it's shit. It's written for the author, by the author for himself, to say, look how learned I am about this, look how knowledgeable I am about the Mafia, because I said 20 names in one sentence that I never elucidated on, I never expanded on. There's no... It's not a story, but you still have to, if you're going to be talking about the Mafia. 1, don't deny the Mafia exists. retard. And 2, you mention a name, focus on that topic for a little bit. A couple paragraphs, set up who this person was, so we can remember who they were, and we can track that throughout the rest of what you're saying. Explain who this person is. You know, describe what they look like a little bit, which he does in like 2 words, and then he just forgets they existed and moves on to another person, or another location, or another topic. I kind of want to see this guy write a fictional piece about anything, because it would be a fucking mess. It would be like that anime where a bunch of big writers, like type Moon Guy and Urobuchi and all, they played a D&D game in real life and they tried to make it into an anime, and it's a clusterfuck, but it's enjoyable somehow because none of it makes sense. And I feel like that's what would come out of this guy if he made a story instead of just nonfiction, because the nonfiction blows dick. So what is this? American Mafia, a book proving the Mafia doesn't exist, well, failing to, trying to prove the Mafia doesn't exist for some reason. Okay, actually, wait. There is one single thing I want to say about this book that's positive. I'm actually very positive about this aspect of it. It goes over, luckily the one time he's a little focused, it does go over the history of Italian Americans, and the fact that, because, okay, nowadays you hear all about oppression and racism and slavery and blah blah blah, poor black people, wah wah wah. When if you actually look at American history, the blacks weren't treated that bad compared to, well, the Italians. Now I'm not gonna, well, maybe I will one day, but I'm not gonna start hashtag Italian Lives Matter or anything. Not at the moment. Plus, I consider Mediterraneans to be white. But white people didn't. During the 1850 to like 1950, Italians were seen as the scum of the earth. They were worse than the dreaded N-word. People hated Italians more than they hated blacks. And that was before civil rights and shit. We were lynched in the streets. Police did nothing. No investigations, no nothing. We were stabbed in the streets. No investigation, no nothing. Cops would literally be watching or participating in the lynchings and beatings, rapings, stabbings, killings, robbings, attacks on businesses, etc. The police were doing it, and they were Irish. That's why they were doing it, because the Irish hated the Italians, and because the Irish hated the Italians, everybody else hated the Italians, because the Irish made up a lot of the population in the same areas, and then white people, because the media, were told Italians are bad. Because guess what? The media was already horrible Jew shit. And the Jew mob, the Jew fucking gangs were running a bunch of places, and they didn't want to bring attention to them. They wanted to divert attention away. So all the media, all the newspapers at the time, Shitalians are bringing crime and violence, and they're horrible, brutal butchers, and they're inhuman, monkeys. That's what they were saying about Italians. And they were hanging us and beating us, arresting us for no reasons. In fact, you hate the police, right? I don't. I love the police. But you're some black person watching this, right? Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of those. You're some Black Lives Matter retarded fucking fruitcake who goes to these rallies even though you're a white girl. And, you got your little tattoo and everything. Or you're some homo from Reddit. Okay, let's say those things are true. You're not. You could never be able to tolerate me this long. And you say, the police are bad because of what they've done to black people. They've always been oppressive and abusive towards... Whoa. That word almost slipped out because I was too comfortable talking at the moment. It would normally, but I can't let it on YouTube. African American black people of color. That's why police are bad, right? Because they're abusive towards blacks. They're racist. That's why white people are bad too. Both of those things started with Italians. Especially the police. Obviously slaves were before Italians. Though, guess who worked the most on trains? Which is the big thing blacks like to bring up. We built the trains. We built this country. Trains were made by Chinese slaves. You fucking idiots. Learn history. And Italians. Who were not slaves, but they were paid about $1 compared to people getting paid $7, which at the time was a lot of fucking money. And a lot of them brutally died working on those tracks because they wouldn't warn them the trains were coming, or they would, and they would hold them at gunpoint and say, you're going to keep working. Even though the train is coming, going to literally kill you, you are going to keep working, or I'm going to kill you. And they would die. They were slaughtered. This was a common occurrence in America for decades. So you want to whine to me about fucking Black Lives Matter? What about Italians? We went through a lot worse than you. And we didn't deserve it. Yeah, you heard me. You can read into that what you want. So shut your fucking mouths. White people had it harder, because Italians are white, and if you disagree with that, go back to Paul. Fuck you. Fuck off.